It is September 20th on the north coast of Ohio. 2016, year of our Lord. Welcome, everybody. Janine, anybody need any water? Anybody need anything?
I'm thirsty.
Because it's going to be a hot one in here. And oh, it's Janine. It's not one of our better clerks.
That wasn't on the air.
Did it? I thought something. Did it come out? Roll call, please.
Calling the roll, Councilman, Mr. Gallagher,
Here.
Mr. Greenspan, Mr. Germana, Mr. Harrison, Ms. Conwell. There,
All in favor of water? Aye. Okay.
there is a
Against?
quorum. I also like the record to reflect that Councilman Miller is in attendance.
Welcome, Mr. Miller.
And per your vote, I will get you some hot water.
No, we've made a call upstairs to the 8th floor. It's colder up there. Public comment.
No one is signed in.
In your packet, you have the minutes of August 16th. If they're in order, I'll accept the motion. So moved. All in favor? Aye. Against? Thank you. We're going to flip-flop a little bit here, and not because Ms. Littman is one of my favorite people from juvenile court, but today she is. So, Ms. Littman, we have 2016-0168, Janine.
Resolution number 2016-0168, authorizing a contract with Ohio Guidestone, the amount not to exceed $1,153,828.80 for community-based treatment services for the period 7/1/2016 through 6/30/2017.
Welcome, Ms. Littman. To your knowledge, cold water over at the Juvenile Justice Center?
To my knowledge,
Do you know?
we
Thank
do
you.
have cold water.
Thank you very much.
I think we have both varieties. We have the hot and the cold.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
well, you have
fancy
the
over
newer,
there.
you have the newer building, not, not associated with, how they, anyhow, we'll not get into that. What are you here for? What could we do for you?
What you could do for me. Well, today we have a contract for approval with Ohio Guidestone. This is our community-based treatment center. And this is a program that's 100% funded through our targeted reclaim grant funds. And what this is a residential program for felony level youth that does cognitive behavioral therapy. It is monitored by the University of Cincinnati per the rules of the grant. And I have a little bit of statistics that I can share with you because we've had this program for a number of years, I think since maybe 2009. But in the last year, we had 22 kids, no, I take it back. In the last year, we had 35 youth that were served in the program. And there's 12 beds at the facility. It's generally about a 4 to 5 month program. And we've had actually really good results there. We've had 81% of the kids that have completed successfully, and about 64% have remained in the community 12 months after release. So the program's doing quite well. It's for boys only. It's not a girl program. And we're looking to continue on with this program.
And where is that located?
And Guidestone, it's in Berea.
Questions?
Mr. Chair. Through the chair, to Ms. Littman, when you say it has great results, how do you determine what those results? Oh, we got water.
Is it hot or cold?
Lukewarm.
Lukewarm.
I had colder water.
I bet ice is extra. Well, when I look at the program completions, out of the 26 youth that completed the program in the 12 months that we're looking at, which is basically July 1st of 15 through June 30th of 16, we had 22 youth that were successfully completing that program, which is, like I said, 81%, which is, in the scheme of residential programs, is really quite a good result. And then when you look at those youth 12 months after they were released from the program, and you have almost 65% of them that are still in the community. That's, again, a really good result. I think, do I have the recidivism numbers here? I think I might, hold on.
So they're basically in intense cognitive therapy.
Yes, exactly. So
that's
there's a
what-
family component as well. There's individual therapy, there's group therapy. As you know, the kids, they go to school there, which is run by Berea School District. And then there's also a component which is a little bit unique for this program, where they have a aftercare group. So basically, when they're released, they have I think it's a once a week group that they attend as well, which helps sort of keep them working on their goals and working towards remaining in the community. Probably if there's one challenge with the program, which is, I don't think, unique for this program, it's really family engagement, because there is a family therapy component to this, because these youth will return back home to their family. And getting the family members, whether it's a parent or guardian, involved in that family therapy is a challenge. But like I said, it's not really unique for this residential program. I think it's something that all of our residential programs really struggle with.
Okay, well, something else I wanted to ask off of that. So there, are we as the county, the juvenile court, keeping data on, I'm assuming that all those children that go in for the 4 to 5 months have different barriers or different backgrounds? Are we keeping a data of who is being successful?
Yeah, so
And
we
how
have
that
a database really for all our residential programs, which really looks at sort of the youth prior to them going into any residential program and any community-based programming that they are exposed to before they go to a residential program, and then as well how they're doing in that residential, and then how they do after they're released from that residential program. So it's looking at a lot of factors. As well, there's the risk instrument, which is called the OYAS, or Ohio Youth Assessment Survey, which is done periodically on all probation youth, but it's specifically, there's a specific risk tool that's done prior to youth going into residential, and then one that's done as they leave, which really looks at their risk to reoffend. And that data is kept as well. And then for this program in particular, because it's funded through the Department of Youth Services and the Targeted Reclaim Grant, the University of Cincinnati does, they sort of created the model, the treatment model, and so they do periodic quality assurance, looking at the fidelity of Guidestone at performing that model, and sort of keeping ongoing training and whatever, and looking at the facility as well.
Mr. Hairston.
Thank you. You answered the first question about what services are provided at this center. So you said the youth that go here are felony level youth.
Yes.
So what offenses would make them eligible, I guess, to go to this center?
So the youth that are recommended to go to this facility, the Targeted Reclaim Program, I'll sort of take a step back here, is really set up as sort of your last community-based step, if you will, before you would go to the Ohio Department of Youth Services. So these are youth that could have any level of felony offense. They can't be misdemeanors. They do have to have that felony adjudication. So it could be anything from an F5, whatever, up to an F1. So it really can be any offense. Probably what you're not going to see going to this is probably any youth that's used a gun. You're not going to see any sex offenders at this program.
There we go.
You know, or anything that was really kind of the violent nature. Probably those youth, while they are not, well, sex offenders I think are prohibited, but they're not necessarily prohibited from going to this program, but it probably wouldn't be a good match for them to go to this program. And the youth with the gun specifications are probably going to the Ohio Department of Youth Services.
Okay, thank you. My second question is, you mentioned that the youth attend a group after they are released from the program. Is that part of the requirements for post-release control, or what is it? Or is it just something they can voluntarily do on their own?
No, it's sort of a requirement. These youth are on probation.
Okay.
So the group is run in conjunction with a staff from Ohio Guidestone and the probation officer who's assigned to these youth. So we have one probation officer who is assigned to all the youth that go to this facility. So he is very, very familiar with the programming and the staff there and then the kids that are at this program, because it has 12 beds and we try to keep it pretty much full all the time. It is a requirement that they go to this program. They've had, in the past, they've had a lot of really good success where even kids that are off probation, they like to continue with the program. And that's been helpful for the kids that are still necessary for them to go to the group, to have kids that have sort of graduated from that. I'm not sure, that was, I think the last time I was here, that was what was reported to me. I didn't get that report, but that's not necessarily, doesn't mean that it's not happening now. But that was something that was going on previously with the group, the aftercare group.
Thank you.
Mr. Miller.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Lippman, can you say something about the 36% that did not remain in the community after 1 year? What typically happened to those?
So I have sort of two statistics here. I have really taking that 36% and splitting it in half. So 18% were placed in confinement, which in this case probably means they were sent to the Ohio Department of Youth Services. So like I said, this is sort of a last sort of step before sending a youth to the Department of Youth Services. And the other 18% were placed in another treatment modality. So they could have been placed at just another residential facility or at a community correction facility, which are run by the Department of Youth Services. So they went to either, half went to another treatment facility and half went to confinement.
And this 36%, this is 36% of the ones that completed the program, is that correct?
Yes, this is 36% of the ones who successfully completed the program.
So what happened with the 19% that didn't complete the program?
The ones who did not complete the program, they either went to another treatment facility or more likely they probably went to the Department of Youth Services.
Okay.
They may have, the ones that are in the community, some may have committed another crime. Going to confinement, maybe it doesn't necessarily mean they did commit another crime. They may have. The ones that were unsuccessful, there may be some that ran, they were AWOL. Or there could have been some that just really didn't work in the confines of the program, and there was certainly no other place to send them.
And do we have any control group type information along the lines of what we would have expected these results to look like for similar people who had not gone through this program?
Well, we do keep the data on all of our different residential facilities. So we have a quality assurance unit that regularly goes, once a year, goes to each of the residential facilities and looks at sort of a whole myriad of everything from the condition of the facility to the programming to doing youth interviews, staff interviews, et cetera. So we can look at those results, although it isn't apples to apples necessarily because different programs have different kind of specialties and maybe cater to different types of youth or youth with different types of programs or programming. But it does give you an idea of how well, in general, the residential programming are doing as far as recidivism and kids remaining in the community. Does that sort of answer your question? Kind of, or no?
Sort of and sort of not.
Okay.
Can you say something about what the general recidivism rate is for youth that have committed these felony offenses and they complete whatever is done? What's typical?
I don't have that figure with me, but I'm happy to get that for you and get it to you. So do you want for felony level offenses or youth
Yes.
that go to,
Yeah, felony level.
for just in general,
Yeah.
no matter where they go? Okay. We can definitely get that for you.
Anything further? Anyone else? Looking at the dates on this, start date having passed, I would assume you would like to move this forward.
Yes, please.
Okay, if everyone's comfortable with that, I'd accept a motion for Resolution 2016-0168 for second reading, suspension or suspension.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you, ma'am. Good
Thank
seeing
you.
you.
Good
Good seeing you
seeing you.
again. Tell everybody hello out east.
We definitely will.
All right. Janine, 167.
Resolution number 2016-0167, making a revenue-generating award on requisition number 32983 to Securus Technologies Incorporated in the estimated amount of $12 million for inmate communication and financial management systems for the period 10/1/2016 through 9/30/2024.
Mr. Bova.
Chairman and Council, thank you. Several years ago, we modernized the medical unit in the jail. Clearly, we're working on justice reform now, but another key component to modernization is communication, and that's what we'll be addressing today. A contract that's been worked on. First of all, I'd like to thank publicly Sarah and Director Triazzi's group for helping write this with Securus. Chief Taylor, on behalf of Sheriff Pinckney, Phil Angelo, Donna Cleo, and Matt and his team from Securus. With this, after this introduction, I'd like to introduce George Taylor to start the presentation. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to recognize Director Carney's in the back. Hello, Director. Mr. Taylor, welcome. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you again, Chairman, and the rest
Floor
of
is
the
yours,
committee
my
members.
friend.
I'm sorry.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. Today, we're here to allow representatives from Securus to present the services that they offer. They may present some services that we will use and some that we will not use, but they're going to give you an overview of what they have to offer. And this will result in the Sheriff's Department becoming much more effective and efficient in their corrections operations. That's the whole idea behind this agreement, this contract. And with that, I'll turn this presentation over to Matt Anderson from Securus, who has a presentation for you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Matt Anderson with Securus. I've also brought Jim Snyder from our public safety group. We have a PowerPoint I'm going to go through, but I'm going to try to hit all of the high points that we've worked through with the Sheriff's Department, who's been great, and Donna Khalil, who's got me a lot of access to the facility so we could put together a program that's going to hit a lot of things to drive greater efficiency, greater services into the community, and more services to the inmates as well. Okay. Just jumping into a quick overview of Securus, I'm going to blow through these. We serve 3,400 agencies nationally right now. We're actually close to 1,500 total employees with some recent acquisitions that we've done. And our acquisitions are all done in areas that relate to corrections and law enforcement. We are a technology innovator in this space. As you can see, against our competition, we have over 200 patents issued and pending, which is greater than the rest of our industry combined. The companies that we've acquired over the last 4 years, we've actually acquired 16 organizations with over $600 million spent on those, and they are not inmate phone companies. We've grown organically. We have not lost customers. We've gained customers, and we've added in new services and investigations and efficiencies for the community and for the facilities as well, several of those that I'm going to go into today. Our customer support solution is a U.S.-based call center. We bisect our service, so there is going to be a friend and family call center. Anyone that has someone incarcerated is going to be able to call in, get their questions answered, and we're going to deal with those individuals. For individuals from corrections or from the law enforcement group, any officers that have a question, we have a technical support center. The reason why we approach it this way is it allows us to bisect our service so we have people that can focus on technical and people that can focus on more end user, helping them through the process of someone going into jail. Our network operations center is going to be monitoring everything that goes into the county correctional facilities, and we have an implementation plan that would begin the full deployment of the phone system within 60 days and the video visitation system within 90 days. and a training program that starts from the beginning and runs throughout the entire term of the agreement. All of the training is included, so any job changes, role changes at the department, we're going to come in and make sure they're getting the most out of the system. So as the sheriff has any turnover, we'll provide that training at no cost. Diving into the technology, one of the first things we provided is our automated information services. What this is going to do is the questions that are hit from the family and friends on a daily basis, as well as questions from the offender. So when is the court date? What is the bond amount? Facility information, information on programs. AIS is going to automate that. This example is from Passaic County, New Jersey, which is slightly smaller than Cuyahoga County, but it classifies as a mega correctional facility, which is the same as your facility. And you can see in this 1 month period, the system that we're proposing automated 43,460 different interactions, both inmate and end user. And you can see each interaction lasted roughly 1 minute and 33 seconds. So we automated back for this county almost 68,000 minutes in that month. So if you look at the amount of time that officers are going to spend in the pods answering questions from inmates on when do I get out, how do I handle things, and then the incoming calls to the desk, that's a significant amount of time savings there through AIS. We have multiple ways to serve the family beyond the AIS system, which will automate their questions, funding of accounts, reviewing their account history, sending any trouble tickets in for us to review. They can all do that online or obviously call into the call center to support that. And we have a lot of different ways for them to conduct their visits, and we're going to touch on that in a moment. One of the things we've recently done to not only help them with their account establishment and account replenishment requirements is also done visitation on our phones. We have an app for Securus now. You go to the iOS App Store or the Android App Store, download that so end users, the people in the community, can visit over their smartphone or tablet device instead of being in front of a tablet or in front of a laptop. We find there's a lot of great benefits to this. It increases the amount of visit touches, which has shown to lower recidivism. And the other benefit is the price point for the visits is low enough that when you look at what the travel time is to the downtown area and then parking by the Justice Center, our visit rate is actually going to save them a few dollars per visit from what they're currently spending. The hardware going into the pods, we have a lot of different ways to deploy. As I said, Donna's been phenomenal getting me access, and the corrections folk have gotten me in there. We've done several walkthroughs with their staff to make sure we know what would go well in each pod, not violate any requirements as far as the American Corrections Association, so the terminals wouldn't be looking at inappropriate things or anything along those lines. Restricted to about a 3-foot viewing field in front of them, and we mount them on a curve. So if there's someone out in front of it, it'll be aimed at the floor. So there's not going to be any funny business that shows up on the screen there. The application running on top of the kiosks allows multiple capabilities to happen through the multifunction device. So when these devices go into the pods, they're able to automate things beyond just the visitation process. They can do phone calls, they can do inmate forms, which are your grievance forms, which inmates, if they have a complaint, they would file a form. Currently, that's a manual form. We're automating this just by point of note. Maricopa County is saving $1 million a year on automation on inmate grievance forms alone through this system. So it is deployed and working currently. Multiple languages. We have 12 on the system currently, so we can support any additional languages that come up. The facility staff will have full ability to monitor everything that goes on with the visitation and phone system. We will train the officers on this. They will be able to go in, watch the visits in progress. There will be warnings for the end users that are utilizing the system that they need to act appropriate. All of these things can be saved for a period of 90 days online. If there is something that is done that is inappropriate, an officer may terminate that visit while it is in progress. They will be given an automated notice then by the officer, which tells them what they did. So if it's inappropriate behavior, inappropriate language, threatening behavior, any of those things could be a reason that your officers would determine to terminate a visit. We do not terminate the visits. The grievance application, I touched on that. Job search is another application that we've included on the capabilities with the multifunction kiosk. What JobView does, and this is a deployed technology today, is it marries up the technology with employers in the area who are willing to work with individuals who are coming out of a correctional facility or a jail. They post their jobs on the site. The inmates can go in, look at the employment opportunities that are going to be there when they are released, and they can send notice in that they would like to be considered for that employment role. Law library application automates a process which usually requires an inmate to be taken down to a library area to do their research on their case. They're able to do this through the kiosk itself. And that leads us into the phone system itself. Any questions? I know I'm going fast, but I just wanted to make sure I make the most of y'all's time. Logging into the system is going to provide anywhere access to any authorized investigator. We're going to provide training again to all the investigators, and that includes the municipalities. So this system does not only benefit the county, but any city agencies that are also housing at the county can utilize the system. Always auditable, secure, password protected. We can tell who changes what they go in and view. Everything can be viewed and checked on through the system. We have keyword search capabilities that we've included. So if someone were to say murder, terrorism, anything along those lines, you can do a search after the fact on all of those calls. They'll be surfaced for investigators to go look in. What's special about our keyword is it's phonetically done. So even if it is a word in a foreign language, you can put in what it sounds like, and the reporting system will flag that and look at it for later use. We have covert alert notifications on the system, which will allow investigators to flag identified pins, phone numbers, or specified areas within the facility. When an individual that is under watch makes a call going out, officers will be notified of that call and will be able to go into that call real time, listen to that call as it's going on. The benefit of this is if you have someone that's incarcerated right at that moment, say someone that had run from the officers and thrown something, they could set up this covert alert, and at the first call that they make that goes out is traditionally to an individual to pick up whatever they tossed. The officer can have that set up for the alert. They would not be aware of that, but in real time, they would find out where the drugs were dropped, and they could go get a 2-for-1 and get the individual that they sent to pick up those drugs. We have informant lines that are installed on the system. They are covert informant lines, so it is not anything that anyone's going to be aware that an individual is walking up and telling on other inmates. It is a two-way communication that allows an inmate and an officer or an investigator to communicate back and forth on something that's gone on in the jail. We find this is a great way to get information on if anybody's brought any contraband into the facility or anything along those lines. All the investigative solutions are integrated into the platform, so there is no swivel chair work that's going on with this. We are serving some of the largest agencies in the country today. We do serve Rikers Island with all of the investigative equipment that we're using here, and all of it is used by NYPD to supplement their investigations. One of the capabilities that we've proposed, and it is included in the system, is our location-based services. What this allows us to do is track when calls terminate to a cellular phone. More calls are going to cellular phones instead of landlines today for inmates, obviously as people migrate from that type of calling. With our LBS system, we can create perimeters around given areas. So around the facility, the reason this is important, if you're getting a call from an inmate to a person outside the jail at 10 p.m., that's something investigators usually want to be aware of. There's no visitation going on. There's no real reason for a person to be loitering outside of a jail at that hour, so that would flag that. You could also put the geofences around known crime areas, and if a gang member calls into other gang members in that area, investigators will be alerted in real time of that call going on. Also used in some situations around schools, so you can put fences around elementary schools, things of that nature, so if you have calls terminating from inmates within those fences, you'll be alerted and notified that you could go in for further viewing of that. We've also provided a biometric identification tool with the system. So what happens on a lot of calls, inmates steal pins from other inmates. When an inmate makes a call, they enter a pin number into the phone system to make that call go out. Larger inmates or bullying inmates will take that pin from individuals to hide who they are calling with their own pin number. So what our system does is identifies everybody's voice in the system. We will enroll every individual in the jail that's currently incarcerated, and everyone new will be enrolled with a voice biometric identification. If I am on a call and Jim gets on that call with me, it will be flagged as a suspicious call. Both parties that are on the call will be named for the officers to go investigate, and it will be logged as a call that they should review. The reason we do this is if Jim is stealing my PIN, he's obviously trying to hide his communications from the officers. And so the biometric system will uncover that every day when they go in, and will log them, line them up with the most suspicious calls that occurred from the day before. And it's a learning system, so we can grade that. And as we get a better handle on gang members in the area and things like that, they can associate those and create groups. So they have work groups on security threat groups, the gangs that are working, and they can begin to group all of that information together for identification of gang members on the outside. So if I was previously incarcerated, and now I am on the outside and receiving calls, they'll be able to identify who I was if I was a previous guest here at the county. Any questions?
I have one about the.
One more time, I'm sorry.
Through the chair, quickly, I don't know, I might have missed it, but does this have any way for when people call in for the inmates that they can leave voicemail messages, or we don't?
We can do a voicemail, yes, ma'am.
Okay, because currently, and will we help the women's pre-release center? Is this gonna be part of the pre-release center, these phones? No? Okay. Okay.
But we do have a messaging capability, so a person on the outside can leave a voicemail, say if they normally have their family phone call at 7 p.m., but they're not going to be available for that, they can leave a voicemail for the inmate that said, something came up, I'm not going to be home, call me tomorrow night at 7, I love you, all's good. And so they can leave that for the inmate. We've put some of those things in place because we find that the inmates, obviously, there's a certain level of anxiety that goes when they can't reach their loved one on the outside, things like that. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yep, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like all phone calls can be listened in on. Are there exceptions to that, such as when the inmate's talking to his attorney?
Of course. Calls can be designated as privileged calls. We default to the customer on what qualifies as privileged. Always attorneys, mental health practitioners, sometimes a client will qualify. Members of the clergy, doctors in some areas qualify as a privileged call. So you do have the ability to designate a call as privileged, and that drops it completely out of the recording database. So it's not a recording that is not inaccessible. It's a recording that does not occur if it's marked as privileged. And we usually inform people that if they call us, they should call the customer. And we do advise that it's good to get a letter on letterhead if they say they're an attorney, just because everybody says they're an attorney and wants to call privileged. Okay. An additional capability that we've introduced using the biometric identification is our ICER, which is Inmate Communications Evaluation and Reporting, and we've included that in our solution. What ICER does is, when we look at our base across the country of over 3,400 sites, and we're providing the biometric identification, one of the things that was going on before we were voice printing all the inmates was, if I was in a DOC facility and I had someone that worked for me in a county facility and part of my crime syndicate, I could have them call a person on the outside. I could also call that person on the outside, and they could take two phones, spin them, do a speaker phone, or if you have an Apple phone now, you could just merge those two calls. The reason this is a problem is you don't want two inmates commiserating and talking over the phone. They could be lining up their stories to make sure they say the same thing, or they could be working to have one go after a witness when the other one doesn't. What ICER does is uncovers these conversations, notifies both facilities that they're going on, and flags them for an investigator to go in and review that call for later usage. We've also provided Threads. Threads is our data analytics system, and it's something we're very, very proud of. This is used by the federal government on most investigations for terrorism. And what Threads does is take all the numbers of calls that we have and the volume of investigative data that the county has to deal with on a daily basis, and thin that down into focused leads. So if we just look at 2,000 inmates, which is lower there when you are, if everybody makes a 30-minute call, one call a day, you guys have 60,000 minutes or 100 hours to comb through on a daily basis with the system. What Threads is going to do, along with the biometric identification tools, is create targeted leads that's going to allow them to focus in on the likely individual. I'm shining a light at this and you can't see it. At the likely individual who is at the center of the crime syndicate. So what we do is, using algorithms, we look at the numbers that they've called, the connections between those numbers, and if you look at the lines there on your screen, you can see from the phones going to the individuals in the silhouette, there's counts there and phone numbers. That shows the frequency of the phone calling as well as the phone number that was called. And why this is important is, if I'm just calling Jim or Donna, that's not any big shakes. But if every time after I call Jim, 10 minutes later I'm calling Donna, there may be some passing of information there, and that's what Threads goes in and uncovers. So things that used to be done manually, where you had to connect dots back and forth between call numbers, Threads goes in and points that out for you. And it also does data mapping. So if you have the crime coordinates and you're looking at car burglaries that have occurred in the north part of the city and the individuals that are associated with that, you can put the coordinates of the crime information in, along with the individuals who committed the crime and their communications data, and it'll give you a likely person that is involved in the crime.
I forgot to ask one quick question. Will this tie anyway into our ERP system?
What is ERP? I do not believe so.
Okay, so this is kind of like its own ERP thing.
Correct. I mean, the enterprise, the new ERP, that's more for like financials and things like that. This is more just for jail management.
The investigative side, you can load anything you want into threads though, so if you did have information of a financial nature that you wanted to put in threads, you can designate that in there, and it does take that into account. So if you want to do financial investigations through it, it does have that capability.
Question.
Mr. Miller, go ahead.
How much will inmates pay for making calls under the system?
35 cents for the first minute, 24 cents for each additional minute.
What is that?
35 cents for the first minute and 24 cents for each additional minute.
How much do they pay now?
It is a,
25 cents a minute. It's 25 cents a minute currently,
well, it went from 2.90 and dropped down to that, yes.
so that's 25 cents a minute. So really for a 10-minute call, it would be almost, it would be a wash. With Securus, it'll be $2.51. Currently, it's $2.50.
Speaking on mic.
So they currently pay 25 cents a minute.
You want some water?
Yeah, I'm gonna need some water. They currently pay 25 cents a minute, so with Securus, a 10-minute phone call with Securus is $2.51.
Bad timing for you on that, I know.
And currently they pay about $2.50. Now, as the time goes up, if it's a 15-minute phone call with Securus, it's actually gonna be, it's gonna go down. It's gonna be cheaper because it's a penny less per minute. It's that first minute.
And it is a 15-minute, that's the duration of call. So right now they're averaging around 10. If they speak to the average, it would be 1 cent more. If they speak longer, it's actually cheaper. The other part to note is the funding fee was $6.99. It is $3 as part of this agreement. And it is optional. If they mail a check in, there is no fee. Or if they do bank transfer.
Okay.
Some of the additional capabilities, we do have outsourced investigations, so if there's an escape or anything along that, we do have the ability to bring people in to supplement what you're already doing investigatively. The reason we do that is, again, just the volume of calls that have to be combed through. We have people that are trained in that, and that's all they do on a daily basis. So it is an additional capability we drop in. The Department of Corrections space, this is very, very big. We do this with Missouri DOC on a daily basis. We are full-time contracted to run their investigative group right now. One of our other recent acquisitions was wireless containment systems. This has been in the press a lot lately. If you've seen some of the Department of Corrections where individuals have smuggled a cellular phone or an iPhone into a jail, updated their Facebook status, like chilling on my bunk, things like that. There was actually a riot in Holman, Alabama that was posted to Facebook while it was going on. The inmate was posting things to Facebook, the video from inside the riot area. What wireless containment does, it is not jamming of cell phones, which is illegal. What wireless containment does is allow or disallow numbers based on input from the law enforcement agency. So what we have is distributed antennas around the facility, and the cell phones connect to us. So in essence, we become the cell phone provider within that given area, so we can control a contraband cell phone versus an allowed cell phone. Again, this is an optional capability that we have. It is new technology, but we are deployed currently and serving in 6 facilities nationwide.
Is that part of this package?
It is not. It was not anything that was asked for. We're more than happy to add it in if it's something that the county's interested in at a later date.
Additional cost, I'm sure, right?
There is, but it's something that we find an increase in the inmate telephone revenue when we put this in, because it does eliminate anyone that may have smuggled a cell phone in, and if they're not using the cell phone, they actually go to the inmate telephone, which drives revenue. As an alternative to incarceration, we also have a company called Satellite Tracking of People, which does an anklet. I'm sure everybody is used to seeing these on individuals. What makes ours different is the inclusion and exclusion zones. You're able to create those exclusion zones around schools, any area where the individual won't go, and inclusion zones around their place of employment. Long battery life, can't be... You can't tame it by putting aluminum foil around your ankle and dispersing the signal or anything along those lines. So we are deployed nationwide right now with STOP, and we do pilot programs, and be more than happy to do a pilot program if the county was interested through STOP. And this is an optional capability, and as I understand, there was a lot of questions on the tablets, but we do have the ability to deploy a secure tablet program, which does not go to the internet. It uses our network only. It uses, if you want to visualize, almost a man trap. So one door closes before the next door opens. Any data that we send to our inmate tablets is sent through that type of man trap. We have over 110,000 tablets deployed nationally right now. So it is an optional capability, not anything that is required to be deployed as part of the agreement with the county, but it is something down the line, if the county chooses to do it, we do have that. And there are benefits not only to the county, there's benefits to the inmates. That it is a revenue generator, but also gives the ability for the inmates to do e-messaging, so gives them back the ability to almost do text again, always discoverable, searchable by law enforcement. It also gives the ability for them to do video messaging, things like that for mom, things like that on Mother's Day or Christmas. And that is an overview of the program.
Okay, questions? Mr. Greenspan.
Thank you. Does this contract include the Euclid Jail and any other subsequent jails that the county may put under the regional plan?
Yes.
So this will be deployed simultaneously between both jails? Just out of curiosity on the wiring and how do you deploy this from a hardware perspective into the current antiquated jail?
Good question. The wiring, we've actually already worked with the county's department on that. So any electrical needs, they've got that. We're going to be doing the wiring ourselves. I have an install group that will come in and do all of that. And I apologize for going backwards fast. I was trying to get you to a screen. We have two different types of hardware we can deploy depending on the inside wiring of the facility. So we are able to run on 2-pair wire instead of going through the traditional Cat5 or a Cat6 cable to do the connection. So we can provide video and everything else over that system. That smaller box towards the bottom there almost looks like a mounted tablet. I can run that on 2-pair wire, so I could actually just take the existing inmate phones off, go right back, and that can operate as a phone and a video visitation.
So you run that through copper, through twisted pair?
Yes. Up to 5,000 feet.
Your video denigration, there's no issue?
None.
You're the last mile it's last mile technology.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm way too familiar with that from a previous venture. Early on, and I wrote questions down. So early on, you made reference that families, friends can call into a 24/7 hotline. How do they get that data? How do you integrate when somebody's been booked, where they are in the process?
We can do a free call out from the booking area to allow them to get that first call out, so they can notify someone that I'm incarcerated at Cuyahoga County and I need to get out. Department's okay. We're willing to put links on the website, so anyone going in can see a link to go over so they can do account establishment right off of that. We'll be doing postings in the lobby area of the Justice Center. We're also putting 2 kiosks in to allow funding to go on there, so they could also go to the Justice Center to do funding right there while they're doing their business.
So this doesn't. Maybe I misunderstood. I thought it was if somebody knew that their relative or acquaintance had been arrested, instead of calling the jail, they would call this hotline, this number. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's
Okay.
only so they can receive phone calls. They could get.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not doing the bond out or anything like that.
Okay. I had a question on slide. I just had a note.
Well, right. So the AIS system that we showed early on, they can get information on why the individual was arrested,
Yeah.
what his charges were, what his release date would calculate out to be based on that. And a lot of that is going to be provided from the jail management system, which is part of this proposal as well.
So maybe Mr. Gallagher can explain. Does this then integrate some way with the court systems?
Yes.
And do you have buy-in from them?
It's the current jail management system gets all the information from that, so we would be replacing that.
They would be replacing. The current jail management system, which is IMAX, they would be replacing IMAX.
And who currently funds IMAX?
The Sheriff's Department.
Sheriff's Department. Okay,
Yes.
so you do
Yes.
as well. So you already have that interface, that relationship. So you're just replacing basically the software.
Correct.
Okay. Can you somehow, and I'm trying to find on slide 7, I just had a note quickly, I wrote slide 7. Can you go to slide 7?
Sure.
See if it refreshes my memory. I must have already asked my question on that one. On the automation of forms, and more so the complaint forms, the inmate, whatever.
The grievance filing.
The grievance filings, are they automated only? Meaning, is there still a manual way for an inmate to fill out?
That's a department choice.
Okay.
Most departments have gone to automated just because it makes things easier for the officer and there's actual tracking on it. So if I send a grievance as an inmate, there's a follow-up and an escalation process on that. If I haven't received a response in 24 hours, it would go up. If no response in 24 hours, it would go up again.
Okay.
So most go to a full automated, but we can run it both ways.
And then you were talking about there being a way in which as you're listening to the calls or they're archived, you can determine if there's language murder. You know, you mentioned some other things. So I'm assuming that you've integrated in other slang language, gang terminology, and phrases like that.
It actually has a learning dictionary because what we found is the gang members, as soon as you have their vocabulary down, they come up with new words. The best example I can give is I was working in California and Lakers tickets were the new norm for cocaine. I need Lakers tickets. I need good Lakers tickets was good cocaine. I need a lot of seats, good Lakers seats was I need a lot of good cocaine. So one of the things that those investigators did was entered Lakers tickets. So every time someone asked for Lakers tickets, it flagged. Because obviously a guy incarcerated is not going to any Lakers games.
Right. There was an FCC ruling that came out regarding the maximum amount that can be charged. Where does this compete or conflict with that?
It is slightly higher than the last rate they put out, but that is being appealed by ourselves, 3 of our competitors, and I want to say 14 state PUCs and PSCs, that the FCC has overstepped their bounds on setting state rates. But beyond that, they also had asked for cost studies from several of the states and several of the providers as well, and they set the rates below what those cost studies indicated. So we feel fairly confident that we're going to be successful in the appeal against those rates.
Okay. If not, how does that impact this contract?
It does not change anything with our agreement.
Okay.
We'll adjust the rates to be in compliance with the law, but we're willing to take that gamble. We're confident we're going to win.
And it doesn't impact, this is a revenue generating agreement to the county. It doesn't impact the guarantee or commitment.
No, there is no. The FCC has actually flipped 3 times on what their original release was. Originally, they said you can't receive any compensation for being a county, and they've removed that now. So that's off the table altogether. So we don't see them coming back and trying to about face and say compensation's unfair.
So when we have a frequent guest at our council meetings who talks about deaf inmates and services to deaf inmates. How does this impact or benefit that?
Video relay services, we actually work with a company called Purple, who's one of the most...
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Can you speak into...
my bad. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Video relay services are what we would offer for hearing impaired individuals. So in addition to a TDD, TTY phone, which is what we're probably all most familiar with for that type of communication, what a video relay service does is allow them to have a video-to-video chat with an individual on the outside with an interpreter that can either sign for the inmate or the called party to participate. So we do have the ability to deploy that as part of a final solution.
Okay, all right. And then one last question, getting back to the last mile technology, just on that. Is that a tool if you cannot get fiber or coax in that you use that, or is that your standard protocol to use?
It depends on the individual facility. We're comfortable with that. It is working. We have not had any degradation of video, but it's really, we had to come up with something because if you look at the age of most facilities, it's impossible to run conduit through to get the right type of wire to them.
So then you take it to a hub and then you hop it from the hub out.
Correct.
To it.
From each phone room, we run it out from there. Right.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Miller?
Follow up on Councilman Greenspan's question about the video service for the deaf. Is that part of the package?
Yes.
It is?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And to the director, can you say a little bit about what system we currently have in place and how this system is similar or different either in terms of the services provided or the financial arrangements?
Presently, Councilman Miller, presently we do have TTY. We do have contracts with the Cleveland Communications that would come in for the hearing impaired. And the gentleman that shows up at the meetings, we brought him over to the jail and shared all this information with him on a couple occasions. So this new system just modernizes everything we're using.
Okay, I appreciate that, but actually, I was asking the question in regards to the whole system, not just the the hearing impaired specifically, as to how what we're proposing to do here, how does it compare with the overall system that we currently have?
Presently, we have a antiquated system. You drive downtown, you wait in line, you go to checks. That alone will modernize. I think this is going to be a major change for visitors. They won't even have to come downtown, number one. Number two, just the sheer efficiency of the system that they're setting up will help us to gather information faster and quicker. I don't know if that's answering your question, but it's just the clear, efficient modernization of the whole system is clearly what we're trying to attain here.
And the estimate is that we're going to receive revenue of $12 million from over 8 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
And how are we intending to use that money?
It would go back into the way we use it now to enhance our way of doing business in the jail now. Correct, Donna? And just to reiterate what I was saying before, presently we do everything manually. The majority of the stuff is done manually. That'll eliminate all this with this new system. So you want to talk about the finance?
My understanding is all revenue that's going to be generated is going to go back into the county general fund. So I can't speak as to how it will be used, but it will be going into the general fund.
Right, Mr. Chair, just to that point, in the budget, there's $4 million a year of this revenue anticipated to come back into the general fund to balance the budget.
That's correct.
The contract that we're proposing currently generates $3 million in year one and $3 million in year two. The other $1 million is currently coming from commissary right now, which we are putting the $1 million back. Commissary is now pretty much picking up the tab for all its employees. It's paying for all the employees' benefits. So that money that general fund used to pay is coming. So that's the $4 million of the $4 million in years 1 and 2 for this current budget that we're in.
Right. Okay, thank you. I remember the number $4 million, so it was some combination of funds generation. Thank you.
Just to the one question on differences between the system, there is no video visitation currently deployed, so it's an on-site visit, so the individuals have to come to the facility. This is going to automate that, as well as the other automation on the kiosks. On the phone side, the investigative implementation of the voice biometrics is something that isn't utilized today, as well as the data analytics and the ability to locate cellular telephones.
Can somebody give us an idea what the setup looks like? How many, where they're going to be located, how many there will be?
The kiosk, it varies by pods, and it was based on, we did a walkthrough with the county public works team, Director Mills's group, and we went pod by pod to look at where we would be putting them. So it varied by the number of inmates in a pod. The best ratio to use is 1 phone for every 10 inmates and 1 visitation terminal for every 22.5 inmates.
Is there, when they're on the system itself, are they in any way away from the other inmates?
No.
Because I saw a show where they put people in the jail and one guy was telling on his commissary, get this and this and this. And
No,
they were stealing the guy's food.
It's in the inmate common areas is where the video kiosks are going to be mounted, so it'll be mounted on the walls in those areas. They would have to enter their PIN to get any of that information. If someone does take someone else's PIN, we do have the ability to uncover that, obviously. But it would be going in the inmate common areas. There is no individualized visit area for them in the pods.
In the two,
It'll be within vision of the CO.
right, and the 2 kiosks will be in the lobby of the Justice Center? Over where?
That's correct.
Okay.
Towards to the right by the elevators,
Right.
just as a landmark notice. There's 1 kiosk in place there today. We'll be going back in there.
Will the phones be tied in any kind of way?
No, he just meant the phone
I'm sorry.
kiosk.
So we're not getting rid of the phones that they already have, we're just adding these boxes or whatever?
Correct. That we'll still be going back in with phones, and we're adding in the video visitation kiosks,
Okay, but the
terminals.
phones, they'll be connected to these boxes to be able to listen to the phone calls and.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, they're still going to have the traditional inmate telephone sets in the pods. This is to supplement that.
Mr. Greenspan?
Just insofar as obviously we're looking at a regional jail environment, but a lot of our cities still have and operate their own independent jails. Is there an option within this contract for those cities to contract for your services through the county's master agreement?
Yes, actually Sarah and Donna and I worked on that, so they do have the ability to come to us, and we're happy to do that because we do believe the info sharing capabilities, it makes sense.
Well, it would make sense, especially since the county has the hub with all the specialty equipment to just put a unit, which we're talking about probably 1 or 2 units, if a jail has a male or female, cell arrangement.
Correct.
Put 1 or 2 units in their jails, flow it through the county system and aggregate it out.
Well,
that
we're
way.
going to drop in our whole own network, so we won't use any county resources or anything, but the network layout you described was exact. We would just have our own pipe running here.
And will that be communicated, I guess, to the jails, to the county, the
Nobody would
municipal
be allowed
jails?
to add without permission from Donna.
No, but I mean, so they know this is now an option.
We would make all our partners aware of it.
Okay.
And for what it's worth, as part of the training, we're happy to do it like an additional training where we invite all those municipalities to come in so we could show them all the capabilities. We're happy to do that.
Could this be used somewhat as a video arraignment environment?
It can be used for it. It's not its original deployment purpose, but it can be used. So what we have is the ability to do an emergency call so we can do face-to-face visits with someone from almost a point-to-point.
Because that may solve some of this 24-hour transportation and video, arraignment issue, that if they're able to arraign somebody in one of our municipal jails on a felony charge, at least get the original arraignment done, and so we don't run into any violations.
As long as I have a laptop with a camera on it and it's in a fixed spot where I've got a good IP address, I can do that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anything further? Nothing? Mr. Bova, you had mentioned you wanted to move this forward under emergency, and that being time?
That's correct.
I see. Now,
One reading.
when's the start date on this?
As soon as we get it approved through council.
And how quickly would that be up and running?
I can have the phones in within 60 days.
60 days and then video visitation within 90, correct?
Yes.
If the committee's comfortable with moving forward in that manner, I'll accept a motion for resolution 2016-0167 for second reading under suspension. All in favor? Aye. Against? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Looking forward to getting started with the county and Donna.
Thank you, sir. Janine, other public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one has signed in.
Anything further?
I would just like to commend Janine. You got the right mix of the hydrogen and oxygen molecules in this water just right. Thank you.
Did I just jump back to your favorite councilman? And with that, thank you.